Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, your host of the Whole Athlete Podcast. And I'm here today to do another special Thursday episode of Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts. And I want to share some information on chronic stress and the ability or inability to burn fat as I get ready for speaking on Jimmy Moore's low-carb cruise coming up in the beginning of June. And I'm excited to talk to people that are keto, low-carbers, really focus on the nutrition part, because I find a lot of people that are looking at losing weight and getting healthy from the inside out don't always look at the whole picture. And that's what I have created the WHOLESTIC Method coaching program to help people burn fat as well as optimize their health and improve performance from the inside out. So focusing on our struggle to lose weight is what I want to share with you today. The impacts of chronic stress on the whole you are really huge, ginormous. We are in a society, in a day and age that we are waking up too early and going to bed too late. In between that waking up and going to sleep, we are going nonstop. We're burning the candle at both ends. We're always doing more than we should and feel that we are running from that saber-toothed lion, tiger, or bear all day long. Instead, acute stress that is healthy for us becomes chronic stress, which is not so good for us. And for those that are doing low carb, high fat diet or food plan, I hate the word diet, the goal, as I always say, is to keep our blood sugar balanced and avoid the surges of insulin. So if we're trying to get low carb, say people doing keto are doing, and this varies for everybody, 20 to 50 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per day total based on your health and your activity level. But what about the rest of your lifestyle habits? What about the WHOLESTIC Method elements? We talk about 8 elements, and let me review real quick. It's nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, movement, and mobility. And then we've got digestion and gut health is in there, hydration, and then happiness, gratitude, joy, play, laughter. That's all one under happiness. So if you are changing what you are eating, that is only one piece of the puzzle that we need to look at to get our body to be a fat burning machine or fat adapted, keto adapted. In order for our bodies to metabolize fat for fuel and depend on fat as our main energy source of energy, we need to look at our stress levels. Are we having that healthy acute amount of stress during the day and then recovering, repairing, and then waiting for the next emergency situation? Or are we feeling that we're on emergency mode all day long? Well, as I always mention, my book that I shared everything in, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey with the WHOLESTIC Method, is on Amazon. Now you can read about my personal story and journey with living life as a race and identifying my red flags and sources of stress and what impact stress had on me. For example, I went from, I didn't think of it as a time, but now I appreciate my fitness level and my leanness. I always wanted to get stronger and leaner and faster, but that's typical type A athlete. but I was actually in really good shape. I didn't have the fat rolls and extra layer on that I feel like I have on now. I went from being lean, the best shape of my life, to gaining 30 pounds in just a few months without changing anything with my nutrition. That was already a low-carb, high-fat, metabolically efficient, athletic food lifestyle plan. So I gained weight within a few months after doing Ironmans, 50K trail running, marathons, cycling events, and I didn't change a thing what I ate. So think about that. If I gained weight without starting to eat processed foods, refined sugars, high carb diet, how the heck did I gain all that weight? That's what I think we need to look at for those who are not losing weight, who are struggling, becoming fat burning individuals. Athletes of all levels. Doesn't matter if you do Ironman or go for a walk every day, you're an athlete of some level. And there's a plane going overhead. Sorry, it's loud. 3 planes. So the word focus is always my mantra. So focus as I look outside my window. The impacts of chronic stress on the whole you. What I'm teaching people, starting with Jimmy Moore's 200 people on the cruise we're going from New York to the Caribbean in June, is how to transform the whole you from the inside out to become a fat burning machine with the holistic method. Now, I've shared my book. If you haven't heard this podcast before, I'm also a personal trainer since I was in college. So it's been, I would say 25 years, but it's been 27 years now. Nutritional therapy practitioner. I'm a Paul Chek Institute, a holistic lifestyle coach. I'm a USA triathlon coach. Ben Greenfield's new Keon program, I'm one of their coaches. DNA Fit, genetic testing, I'm a coach for them. I'm starting the FDN practitioner program this year to become a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And I have been a high-level age group, competitive age group endurance athlete in marathons, triathlons of all levels, and 50K trail running and cycling events. I'm an author. I wrote Life is Not a Race and the Holistic Method Manual and Workbook, both on Amazon. Obviously, I have a podcast since 2011. I started co-hosting with Fit Fat Fast founder John Smith. And my goal is to start speaking more on this topic and sharing my story. Life is not a race. It is a journey with the holistic method. I wanted to start this podcast on Thursdays, The Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts, because there's a lot of topics as I'm discussing today. How can you become fat adapted if you're always living life as a race? Are you waking up refreshed or you feel tired and exhausted? In the afternoon, do you feel a sense of fatigue, sluggishness, lack of motivation, or do you feel fired up and ready to energize and tackle the rest of the day? Do you struggle to lose weight even if you're doing a low-carb, high-fat food plan and experimenting with intermittent fasting? Perhaps you are rushing throughout the day, and when you do eat that good, healthy meal without the processed foods and junk foods, you're unfocused. You're rushing. You're eating your food really quickly. You're not chewing it thoroughly. You're not relaxed or focused or even sitting. Maybe you're eating your meals in the car while you're driving, or you're working at your desk and eating at the same time, leading to digestion issues, dysfunction. Does every day feel overwhelming to you and you just dread going to work or starting the day, and you just feel exhausted when you hit the pillow at night? Those are things I talk about and share in my book, Life's Not a Race, and what I'm doing in my coaching program. So I've created this new online coaching program. I've done this for about 10 years in different formats. I keep changing it as it evolves and I evolve and new research comes out. The 30-day transformation program. It used to be the 21-day sugar detox, and then I did a 5-day jump start, and putting it all together into a 30-day program that we start with phase 1 a 5-day jump start leading into phase 2, kind of a sugar detox, digestion reset, reboot button, and then phase 3, working on how do we transition into lifestyle, because this is not a diet. So those are not able to lose weight and they're trying everything. This is the audience I want to help right now. If you are feeling frustrated and lost and just can't get anywhere, I can help you. I think I can. And if I can't, I'll figure out how to help you, because I'm very motivated to get people results. So I want you to become a metabolically efficient athlete. And we should be sitting here burning fat, walking. We should be burning fat when we're exercising, when we're eating. Everything low carb and the higher fat. We're trying to keep our body to being a fat burning machine. But go back to that big topic, chronic stress. So how does chronic stress impact the whole you? Well, just to name a few things off this list I'm looking at: brain fog, headaches, chronic joint or muscle pain, digestion issues as gas, heartburn, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, abdominal pain. We've got insomnia, autoimmune issues, hormone imbalances, acne, skin rashes, anxiety, depression, allergies, inflammation, chronic food sensitivities, chemical sensitivities, bad breath, weight gain. The list goes on. But it's always a chicken and egg when you start looking at these symptoms. And later on in my part 2 or 3 of this seminar is about how if you're a hyperglycemic or insulin resistant and how sugar impacts the whole you, is that we don't often know where the source of stress is coming from. So this is why I become a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, FDN, because sometimes we do need that lab test to see, all right, do we have an internal stressor that's causing dysfunction inside, or, which is why I think it's essential to look at external sources of stress, working on ourselves, our lifestyle habits, our way we deal with work stress, the way we deal with our day activities, how we sleep at night. So much of this is what I share in my book, that I was doing lab test after lab test, seeing doctor, functional medicine, naturopaths, all of this. But the majority of healing myself and transforming into the new version of me has been working on my lifestyle habits. For example, Saturday, I went to my master swim workout, 7 a.m. And I used to go 7 to 8:30, maybe I get in even earlier from training for Ironman and get more of my long swim in. That was on my Mark Allen's training schedule. I come home more in a rush to transition to my bike clothes and go with my husband or some friends to go for our long bike ride. So I would be rushing from my swim workout to the shower, to changing, get in my car, rush home to change my bike clothes and get on my bike. Then I could finally kind of relax a little bit. Today, the new me, plus I'm not training for any Ironman race, but I went for my swim. Everyone's kind of getting out 10 minutes early because we didn't feel like doing the last little set. And then I came home and my husband's ready for going for a bike ride. And I thought, you know what? I need to slow down. I can't just snap into this fast transition. I need to sit, pause, reset for a moment. And then when I was ready, it just took me 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I was ready to go, get ready and go for the bike ride. I felt this sense of stress. And when he was asking me, let's go for a bike ride, I said, no, I need to sit. Give me 10, 15 minutes. Let me transition. And then I was energized, ready to go. But when I had that stress that I gotta go, someone's waiting for me, I could feel myself start to get worked up and feel that kind of adrenaline, cortisol release from this sense of urgency. And I now no, I can't go right now. I need a timeout. So that was Then I would change, go, go, go. Now I know stop, go, stop, go. So you need to identify what your chronic stressors are. That could be refined sugars, high glycemic diet. But if you're following a new keto diet, maybe you've broken off this, but sometimes it takes people longer to break that sugar addiction. And that's what we do in my 30-day program. Too much coffee or other stimulants, alcohol. I know a lot of people that drink alcohol every night, which will really disrupt your blood sugar and your sleep schedule or circadian rhythm. Morning, even commute. I would hate to sit in traffic that we have in Seattle, but luckily I leave early in the morning and I just live 5 miles away, so it takes me 12 minutes to get to work in the morning. But if I had to deal with traffic every day, it would be a stressor. Emotional stress. Maybe there's people in your life that are causing you emotional stress. Digestive issues as gut dysbiosis. Maybe you have stomach acid issues that a lot of people don't have enough acidity in their stomach, so they're not breaking down their foods, or we're getting nutritional deficiencies. And there's other diseases and infections and autoimmune issues. Most of us all have leaky gut and have a microbiome that doesn't have enough diversity. So you can listen to past podcasts I did with Karan from Microbiome Labs, who's the expert scientist in the microbiome, that he really knows his stuff about how the microbiome affects our stress and our health and our performance. So do you have too much stress in your life? We all handle stress differently, and the symptoms will vary per person. As I always say, we are all unique individuals, and there is not one size fits all program for everybody. So we are unique in how our programs are going to be to help us transform into fat burning machines, and being healthy, working on longevity and performance. It's not always going to be the same. Maybe we kind of start with the same blueprint and then tweak it per person. So stress may affect all areas of your life, including the emotions, behaviors, your thinking ability, physical health, and performance. The negative effects of chronic stress, if it continues, if we don't pay attention to those red flags and it accumulates, may be more serious than my adrenal dysfunction or HPA axis dysfunction, but it could lead to heart attack or stroke, blood pressure issues, blood sugar, which happened to me. I became insulin resistant from too much stress, not from the food I was eating. Pregnancy-related issues. Hey, that was me. I never could get pregnant. Asthma. I know a lot of people with asthma issues. Eating disorders, weight gain, and more. So it really gives you a lot of different options to see that stress comes from everywhere. So let's look at how chronic stress impacts the whole you, starting north and working our way south. Emotional symptoms of stress. There's physical symptoms, cognitive and behavioral symptoms from chronic stress, physical, mental problems. The list goes on. And that's in my slides. If you want to email me, I can give you a copy of these slides, but I'm not going to go into them now. But let's focus on the main topic today, chronic stress and weight gain. Do you struggle to lose weight, to burn fat, and increase your muscle tone? Well, as I said, if you're doing keto, low carb, high fat, ideally the research shows that we will conserve, we won't lose muscle. We actually can help get leaner, and you'll lose that fat weight because we're teaching our body burn fat. But if we don't change our lifestyle habits and continue living life as a race, we are not going to lose as much weight as we could be doing. So sources of stress, we know the food pyramid, political nutrition, eating the high carb processed foods and the junk foods are an issue. And I even find people that are doing the clean keto and dirty keto. It drives me nuts because you're just putting a bunch of chemicals in your body by eating processed foods that are higher fat, but they're not good source. So they're not organic. They're probably getting fat from contaminated animal sources, and the vegetables they're eating, if they're not organic, we're just putting a lot of toxins in our already overwhelmed body. So we want to pick food off the tree that we hunt, that get from the ocean, chemical-free soil. So we want to get healthy sources of food that are clean and from the earth. So our inability to lose weight give you some sources of stress that will lead to our inability to lose weight. So toxic exposure, is a fact of life. It's everywhere. Toxins are household ingredients to our products that we use in our body. There is toxins everywhere. And I've really worked hard to get rid of the products we use in my fitness studio, in my home, my makeup, my shower stuff, my lotions, my facial cleansers, and household cleaning items, or laundry detergent, candles, fragrances, getting total chemical-free stuff and more natural. And it's amazing when you go to someone's house that still uses all the toxic ingredients. You can feel it. I can smell it, and it will bother me, give me a headache. So we have overexposure to chemicals, and it does get overwhelming to our body, and our elimination pathways for detoxification that we'll talk about in another section of the seminar get clogged. We get impaired. Our liver detoxification system doesn't work as well. So we get this toxic overload and leads to a lot of our chronic conditions we see today. So we want to have that normal housekeeping process in the body that we talk later in the detoxification section. When we're sleeping, our body should be detoxifying. Our organs of elimination include our liver, the bowels, the skin, respiratory system, lymphatic system, kidneys, and the bladder. So detoxification is a big part of what we do in my program. And I keep it simple. I'm not the scientific person. You can talk to Mike Mutzel about that or one of other people, but I just like to get the information and bring it to you and make it easy to understand. So let's continue on our next episode on the effects of chronic stress, weight gain. Just to leave you a few research articles that I found on PubMed is some quotes here on how chronic stress, the research showing, is related to weight gain. It is believed that elevated insulin levels observed in heavier individuals are responsible for greater weight gain in response to stress. Chronic social stress, access to highly palatable and energy-dense foods, and little need for physical activity set the stage for development of overweight and obesity. The next slide, we've got chronic stress, chronic social stress, often arising from poor interpersonal relationships, job, unemployment stress, poor self-esteem, low socioeconomic status has been associated with obesity and associated illnesses. Then we've got the chronic activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and the HPA axis contributes to anabolic state that promotes fat storage with visceral deposits, which increase the risk for dyslipidemia, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and other facets of metabolic syndrome we've heard about for years. Stress can also enhance the weight gain and fat deposits through changes in the feeding behavior. And lastly, chronic stress is known to alter the pattern of food intake, dietary preference, and the rewarding properties of foods. And then the last slide for today, chronic stress and weight gain continues here. In healthy individuals, the stress response is short-lived. Activation of the sympathetic nervous system is rapidly counterbalanced by the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest branch of the autonomic nervous system. The HPA response is terminated via negative feedback loops. Glucocorticoids act on the receptors at the level of the pituitary gland and the HPA axis to inhibit production and release of hormones that activate the adrenal glands. The indirect negative feedback from the limbic structures such as the medial prefrontal cortex and hippocampus also contributes to the termination of the HPA axis response. Although stress response is necessary for survival and adaptation, as we say, acute stress is good for us, pathology can arise when it is prolonged. So that means chronic stress that we keep talking about today. In vulnerable individuals, exposures to chronic stress can adversely affect numerous aspects of health. And that is why I'm sharing you all this information today and every week, because if you cannot switch to a fat burning machine, we need to look at that big red flag that stress that's coming in your external environment as well as your internal environment that's inhibiting your body's ability to burn fat at a cellular level. So I'm sure we can get my friend Mike Mutzel to dive in deeper on the science behind that at a cellular level. But, the weight management issues and the gaining fat, there's so much research out there. And that's why in my program, we'll go into the benefits of intermittent fasting and add that time-restricted eating in an 8-hour window, and then allowing our body to reset and reboot. And we'll work on reducing our addiction to busyness, that chronic busyness, living life as a race and rushing from one appointment to another. And we're working on changing that mentality that more is better, that we need to become a fat-adapted, fat-burning machine by looking at the holistic method elements and working in nutritional therapy. I share with my coaching clients one-on-one is taking the nutritional therapy practitioner work that we do, a nutritional assessment questionnaire, looking at symptoms related to body system and dysfunction, or rather areas of opportunity, but then working on the pillars of the natural therapy or nutritional therapy foundations, which is a whole foods, nutrient-dense diet. We work on improving your digestion system, which is essential, working north to south, starting with your brain. And of course, blood sugar regulation and the adrenals go hand in hand, as we're discussing today about every blood sugar response, or rather, I'm saying that backwards, every stress response is a blood sugar response. So adrenals and blood sugar regulation go hand in hand. In nutritional therapy, we talk about the PALs, the pancreas, adrenals, and liver, and their connection together. So they get overwhelmed, which is what I talk about in my book, that if one thing gets out of balance, they all get out of balance. So just because you have low thyroid doesn't mean it's your thyroid. You got to look at the big picture. Where is it coming from? And we put the pieces of the puzzle together, working on the whole you from the inside out with nutritional therapy guidelines. So the other elements or foundations of nutritional therapy that we work on are your essential fatty acid balance. Are you getting the right amount of the different essential fats? And then mineral balance, which a lot of people are very low in essential minerals as magnesium and potassium, and getting those in balance. You can do hair mineral analysis to really know what minerals you're out of balance of, as well as if you have heavy metal in your system. And then lastly, hydration. So many people are dehydrated because we're drinking coffee too late in the day and too many cups and other diuretic beverages. So really important part of the Holistic Method coaching program for individuals as well as the groups is working on nutritional therapy along with the elements of the Holistic Method program. So next time we're going to dive deeper into blood sugar dysregulation and our consumption of sugar, our addiction to sugar, and how chronic stress and sugar burner are related, signs and symptoms of sugar burner, signs of hypoglycemic and insulin resistance, and more, to learn how you become fat adapted. So I will take note here where we left off and continue on the next episode of Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts, talking about blood sugar dysregulation. So until then, I would love to hear from you, to know that you are listening, that I'm not talking to you or just talking to myself. I'd like to know you're listening and what thoughts you have, and perhaps you have questions for me. Maybe you want to come on the show and talk about some thoughts you have and questions about your challenges or areas of opportunity trying to burn fat and improve performance and longevity, metabolic efficiency, becoming fat adapted athlete. All of that I really want to dive into with you on this show. And I'm also starting to get ideas for writing a new free ebook for my website on becoming a fat adapted athlete, learning how to becoming more metabolically efficient by not only just eating low carb and high fat, but how to become that fat burning machine with the holistic method. So I'll get a little bit more into the tips and tricks on how to do that. as I finish. I need to go to Kona for a week and house sit for someone, ideally, so I can write this all, because that's where I get my Zen state and have the magic from Madame Pele being out there with me. But until then, I have to work on focusing one thing at a time when I'm at home, working on debbiepotts.net, and hearing back from you would be great to help know what our next topic is. So go to Facebook page, The Whole Athlete Podcast, and let me know your questions, thoughts, and concerns, or email me directly via debbiepotts.net. All right, guys, go enjoy today and make it the best day ever. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.